Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Monica Sawyer.
Happy New Year, everyone. Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show Mark Victor Hansen. Mark is best known as the co-author for the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series and brand, setting world records in book sales with over 500 million books sold. Mark also worked his way into the worldwide spotlight as a sought-after keynote speaker and entrepreneurial marketing maven, creating a stream of successful people who have created massive success for themselves through Mark's unique teachings and wisdom. With his endearing, charismatic style, Mark captures his audience's attention as well as their hearts. Having spoken to over 6,000 audiences worldwide with his one-of-a-kind technique and masterful authority of his work, time and again, he continues to receive high accolades from his audiences as one of the most dynamic and compelling speakers and leaders of our time. Mark and Crystal Hansen have co-authored their newest book that just released called Ask, the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. Hey there, Mark. Happy New Year. Welcome to the show.
It's so exciting because it's a new year and a new you or a new renewed you, because everybody is into the transformation of consciousness, awareness, thinking, and just ready to burst with joy and enthusiasm and euphoria. How's that?
And bliss. Absolutely. Yeah. You know what I love about the new year? I don't set New Year's resolutions. I sort of set New Year's intentions because I figure my new year is actually on my birthday, which is May. I feel like I get 2 New Years every year and they're about 6 months apart, you know? But what I love about this winter new year is that we are planting the seeds that are going to burst in the spring. Like there's just a couple of months, and there's so much like anticipation. There's so much possibility in this moment. Wouldn't you agree?
I 100% agree. It could not be more exciting. And you know what you got to do is, and we're going to talk about it. Thank God, is you got to ask yourself. The Bridge from Your Dreams to Destiny is our best-selling book. But what is your destiny? That's the question of the new you, the new year. Because as good as you are, you can be better. As big as you are, you can be bigger. And you got to know what it is you want to be, what it is you want to do, what it is you want to have. And all that's done by one miraculous 3-letter word that no one ever wrote a book to. And you get the trademark of the title, ASK. I mean, how could it be easier? Because all you got to do is ask yourself, ask others, and ask God, which you want to talk about today. And I'm thankful that we're going to ask, what are you going to do to make this the best year, then the best decade, the best life that you've ever had, and you've got to figure it out, and you've got to put it in writing. And I'm going to talk to you about how simple that is.
That's perfect. I love that. And one thing that I want to say is there are a lot of people that binge this show. So you might be listening to this in September. You know, you might be listening to this any time of the year. Just understand, I know how trite this is going to sound, but I have to say it. This is the first day of the rest of your life. So this conversation is relevant no matter what time of year or when you're listening to it. So just keep that in mind. And one of the things that I really wanted Mark on the show for, ladies, is as we start to build our dream, right, and meet our destiny, as Mark's going to talk about today, we start to ask ourselves, what is it that we want, right? We've talked a lot about that in this show. What is it that we want? And then we set our goals and we ask the universe for support. But what I have found, especially for women, and Mark, you can correct me if this is for everybody, I'm sure that it is, but I know especially for women, we have trouble asking people, our network, the people that love us, the people that are around us, the people that we don't know yet, right? We have trouble asking. So today, and I know that Mark and I are fully aligned on this, we're going to talk about all of those 3 different ways to ask. So the very first thing I want to ask you, Mark, is why did you write this book? You gave us a little bit, but dive in deep on why you and Crystal did this.
Well, my beloved wife and I wrote ask the bridge to your dreams destiny, very simply, we've traveled and been more blessed than anybody did. 80 countries around the world, talked to 7 million people live. And what's so extraordinary is that most people never ask themselves what they want. I have medical doctors that we have people pair bond and do exactly what you just said. And they say, boy, your class was more important than all of my medical school training or whatever they say, engineering training, whatever. But we ask them 50 times, what do you want? 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 And what happens is you get past the superstition. I want a wardrobe that's good enough to own a men's store, a women's store. I want to be a fashionista. I want to, have this car or that car or an electric car or a Rolls Royce, whatever it is that you want. But by the time you hit 50 times asking, you suddenly go, holy cow, what is my purpose in life? What am I going to dedicate myself to humanity for? And the big question we ask, the last question in a book from our friend Dr. Peter Demandis is, what are you going to do during this decade to positively affect 1 billion people? So you got 10 years, you're going to affect 1 billion people. What it does is it blows the lid off, because what asking does, what we learned, is that it gives illumination, it gives insight, it gives answers, it gives solutions, it gives new protocols, so your life becomes what it's supposed to be, because all of us are here with a destiny. That's what this critical little word here, destiny, is. Most people never ask themselves what their destiny is. Your mother said you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a business person, blah, 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 a dentist, whatever, or a garbage person, all of which are noble. That's not the issue. The issue is all of us are a polymath. It's not just for Ben Franklin to be a writer and a statesman and an inventor of bifocals and humma, and fly the first kite to find electricity. All of us are intrinsically polymaths, meaning many opportunities. In other words, yes, I'm the world's best-selling author. I've sold 500 million books. Yes, I've talked to more people live prize than anyone. Yes, I've created more millionaires, but I also own one of the fast-growing alternative device energy companies with pop-up windmills called Natural Power Concepts, and other companies that they're just extraordinarily doing wonderful stuff, because the question isn't how little you can do and get away with. The question is, how do you become financially free, independent, so you can go express who you really are by having your self-awareness, to your self-expression, to your self-realization? Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh. You're like totally speaking my language. And I love, we're a real estate show, right? I love how you brought that financial piece in there, because so many people think that it's noble to not focus on money, right? I love the word that you use, noble. And I love that we talked about the ability to expand really does have a lot to do with our financial bearing. Can we take care of ourselves? And do we have the money to give to the causes, whether it's causes or the companies that we want to build, that can then reach and benefit the planet in so many ways? So many people think money is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's simply a tool. And as we ask, sometimes we feel a little bit like, should I be asking for this? It's a financial based thing. It's a goal to help me to grow in this particular way. Maybe people will judge me. The very first thing is to understand within yourself that your financial security is a huge part of the amazing things that you can do in the world. You want to reach 1 billion people, and maybe some of you just want to really expand your family, pay for college for your kids, right? That's your big deal, your big expansion. You still can't do any of that unless you're taken care of, and that you have the financial excess to support all those things. Wouldn't you say?
First of all, you and I are talking the same language. So let me say that, first of all, from a spiritual point of view, ask yourself, ask others, ask God. God created the universe. And we now know that there's 40,000 other planets in our solar system. We've just discovered that in the last 2 years because of Hubble, that are like ours. So we're probably not the only intelligence in the universe, but we're the highest intelligence on this planet. Therefore, if you're high intelligence, one of the things you got to do is earn more, save more, invest more than you could ever do. And when I was bankrupt in 1974, which I now say is my best, worst experience, I lost $2 million in one day. Oh. And I went bankrupt fast living in New York. I had to go to the world's biggest library, the New York Library, checked out a book, How to Go Bankrupt by Yourself. Because if you ask the wrong question, you go the wrong way. So I said, how do I go bankrupt? And it got me out of what I shouldn't be doing and into the speaking. Well, once I'm speaking, I said, well, you're supposed to earn it, save it, invest it. I say, don't buy 2 cars, buy 1 home I had to buy one car and two homes, a second home, an investment income home. And so let's just do my own story because this is a real estate company. I'm back in Long Island, New York. I have a mastermind group, which everyone's got to have two people come together, the power of 11. And we had this little family who's still my best friend 50 years later. I'm 73, so you're going to have to try to calculate this out. It's 1974. And they are buying and fixing up real estate. And they say, look, well, we got a house. We'll sell you for $2,000 down. Remember, I had no credit. I just went bankrupt, no credit for 7 years. So I said, well, here's a check for $2,000. I bought a $14,000 house. Now, remember, this is East Islip, Long Island, New York. The only mistake, it's called Stephen and Lynn Belair. They're still in real estate and have done exceedingly well around the world. But they sent me this, bought this. 3 years later, I sold it for $58,000. I thought I was, again, the smartest guy in New York, right? Chrysler Cordova car. Now, the mistake we made, I'm going to do the mistake twice. One, we should have bought all of East Islip, right, and fixed it up. That would have been, but I didn't, at that time, I had not written a book that I've now written, that I've just finished, called How to Think Bigger Than You Ever Thought You Could Think. Because little thinking doesn't pay off, right? Big thinking pays off. And then the second thing I did is I did a book called Stand Up, Speak Out, and Win, and I sold 20,000 copies from the platform, and I made $200,000, $10 a book, selling to little itty bitty audiences. It's not available anymore, but that's it. And little audience of 6 people, 12 people, 50 people. And I said, this isn't a New York Times bestseller. It's not a national bestseller, but it is my bestseller, and I want to sign it to you, your spouse, your kids. And if you've got a dog, I'll sign it to your dog. And I'll laugh. But the first time I sold it, when I came out with it, is that I sold 30. There were 37 people standing in line. And I made, $10 times $370. I thought, holy cow, this is really a good business. So the second mistake I made, just like the first, we should have bought all our East Islip. And I'm holding up a mirror so you look at my story and find your story. Of all the parables, like the first thing in this book is a parable called the Fable of Michaela. A parable is a story within a story. There's a literal story. The literal story is Mark went bankrupt and decided to become rich. The figurative story is he should have bought more of East Islip. The figurative story is instead of writing one book, right now I write 5 to 7 books at a time because and I got 318 books. Most of them are bestsellers. I've done more New York Times bestsellers than anybody alive, according to Guinness Book of Records. I've sold more books, better titles, and more number one. And we're number one in a lot of countries. The point I'm making is I could have started that earlier if I thought different. I'm holding up a mirror. It's the new year. It's a new you or a renewed you if you're watching in May or September or December of that year or 2 years, 5 years. Hold up there. Look, how big can you think? And you go inside your deeper innermost and what we're saying and ask yourself, ask others, ask God, God, what's your destiny for me? And how big is it? How miraculous is it? How empowered is it? How much favor can I be under to buy however many points of income producing real estate in new, innovative, exciting ways that may or may not include bank financing. Like I didn't have any bank financing. Stephen and Lindell financed it out of 14,000. I gave them 2,000. They financed the other 12,000. Now they bought the house for $7,000. It was a shack, and we had to put in new heating and new walls and everything. But it still worked. And the only thing is that you've got to make sure that you're doing enough. And maybe I've overstated that or gone too long. But does that wrap for you? Is it a complete?
Absolutely. No, you didn't go too long. I mean, I think that first of all, I love when people speak inspired. So thank you for that. My thing is, so let's dig deep into what is it? Ask God, ask yourself, and ask others, right? So I want to dive a little bit deeper because I think that for us, we have trouble with that, right? So how do we do it? Like you talk about asking God. Is there a particular ritual? Is there a way that you suggest? So I'm looking for a little bit deeper because I have my own ways that I do this, right? So I'm just curious on what are yours, just to give people ideas.
Okay, so ask yourself, ask others, ask God. The simplest thing we teach in the book is everybody ought to go have a 3x5 card. You can get them in any business. Every company's got one. And you write on it, I am so happy and thankful that I've sold, in this case, because the book was new, it's done now, but over 1 million copies of Ask by doing 400 podcasts by, December of last year. And then I signed it, my wife signed it, our publisher signed it. You look at it 4 times a day. Now, this will answer the question. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, before you go to sleep, because all of us get distracted. All of us have interruptions. I mean, life interrupts us, it happens. But the fourth one is the most important. You read this right before you go to sleep at night. It goes into your deeper, innermost, highermost subconscious mind. It permeates, penetrates, fills the inner spaces, because it gets past the conscious mind, which is superficial, into the subconscious mind, which is robotic and automatic, into the superconscious mind. Then it goes to the God conscious mind. And for some people, that may be a little heavy duty. I didn't make the rules. So what you do is you say to yourself, if you don't know your destiny, God, what's your destiny for me? 400 times before you go to sleep at night, push back sleep, and then tell your sweetiekins, hey, I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night. If Mark's telling the truth, and he is, I'm going to need to have a paper and pen next to bed. And I say, I always write in God's highest color, purple. Notice there's a purple card, because top of the electromagnetic spectrum, top of the rainbow, humma humma. Spiritual robes are always purple, right? The highest guys and ladies. And the point is, but you look at the card 4 times a day, but most importantly, before you go to sleep. Now you say, well, show me exactly what you did. Well, when Jack and I wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, we did not start where I start now. I now say in like books like you have a book in you, because everyone ought to write their book. Everyone's got a book in them and a story to tell. And we have a company that does that called MarkVictorHansenLibrary.com. But when we did this, we didn't have the right title. So in our respective houses, Jack had already lived in Santa Barbara. I was living then in Newport Beach, California. I now am happily in Scottsdale, Arizona. But we did it in our mind. It's called a thought command. Mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title, mega best-selling title. This is 1989. This is before the internet, before cell phones. So Jack wakes up at like 2:58, rings our phone. Now, I got a daughter becoming a vet, so we had 88 animals on 1 acre, which is nuts, and they're all going nuts. The house is going to, because you assume that the phone rings in the middle of the night, your house is on fire, or one of the kids or your relatives died or is hurt, or one of your kids has run away and they caught him. Because we got 5 kids and 6 grandkids now. But the point is, Jack said chicken soup, and you and I know that's Jewish penicillin. That's what grandma and mom gave you. And I said, for the soul. Now, we both got goosebumps, but and God bumps, chili bumps, some of you call different stuff, and that's fine. But that's one of our first discernments. What we didn't know was that 144 publishers wouldn't see the vision that I saw, because I said, we're going to sell 1 billion books. And they said, well, you can't do that, because no one's ever sold that many. I go, wait a second, that's not a stop sign. That's not. Anyhow, and then our agent fired us. And, you know, we've gone nuts with it. Now and 20 years ago, I wrote down that I would have a best-selling movie. And right now, most of you have seen the movie we did with Michael Caine called Bestseller, of course. And it's a great hit last year. So, and Michael Caine's just superb anyhow. So it's exciting, but all that started because I asked myself what I want to do. I want to be a best-selling author. I want to be world best-selling author, because if you're going to think, what did I do? I said, think big. Number 2, I asked others to help. I mean, if you can, I want you to buy the book even before we come out with the book. And we always start that way. And then number 3 is you ask God, tell me how to do this, and tell me how to go sell and earn back then. Remember, this is 1973 and 4. I'm starting the speaking business and come out with that first book. I want to earn $400 a day. That was 100,000. That's like earning $1 million now. But the difference between 100,000 and $1 million is 1 0. 100,000 is 250 work days. You get all the holidays off. At $400 a day is 100,000. And the top salesman in the world one time sat with me in New York, and Ben Feldman, who was the cover of Forbes magazine at the time, and Ben said, look, Mark, if your kid's life depended on it, could you earn 4,000? That's 1 0, 1 0, 1 0, 1 0. 4,000 a day. I said, got it. My kid's life on it, I'd make it. He said, then start tomorrow. And I started making $1 million a year. It's change in consciousness, change in awareness. That's why the new year is so critical, because you got to change your consciousness, write down a goal that's so big that it scares you a little bit, but it also exhilarates you to be all that you can be, do all you can do, and have all you can have.
Oh, I love that. Can you repeat really quickly what you and Jack were saying in your mind as you were going to sleep? I didn't understand those words that you were using.
Mega best-selling title. Mega, big.
Okay.
Best, because I wanted to be number 1 New York Times, because the New York Times list at that time, before COVID, was the list. If you're on New York Times, the bookstores would take it. The Hudson's would take it, Books A Million would take it, Barnes and Noble would take it, Borders would take it. They're gone now because of a lot of things. But and this pre-Amazon at that time, and then obviously been Amazon #1 again and again. So
got it.
And now teach people in Mark Victor Hansen Library that if you come and publish with us, we take you straight to #1 because I understand the vehicle. I understand the algorithms, and I want to help everybody have whatever they want to have in their vector. But if you've got a story in you, I want to help you release it. I'll give you a go, whatever you need. Well, because have you ever met anyone that didn't have a story? If you get to them and get their heart, mind, and soul.
Yeah, everybody's got a story. That's absolutely true. So
the grandparents shouldn't die until they've recorded their story.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
We'd like to know what your great grandparents said, thought, felt, did, and I have no idea your ethnicity, but I'm Danish, both sides, and even my 23andMe is full 100% Danish. The point is, I'd like to know what my old Viking family did to stay alive.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what I loved about you talking about here is that when you're even just trying to find what that bigger than you vision is, right? Because you're looking for, from my perspective, I do this. We're looking for something that's bigger than we can really perceive. It's scary to perceive. So in a way, it's a little bit blocked, right? So you're trying to open yourself up to something that's bigger than yourself. And what I love that you talked about, Mark, is like, you just kind of ask for that. What did you say? 400 times, push sleep away, and then you go into sleep, and then you wake up in the middle of the night. You did this with the book title too, but you wake up in the middle of the night and you take notes as you get the messages that come in. Is that what you said?
Exactly correct. Because in the middle of the night, what I call it is clear channel. In other words, the kids aren't making noise, the animals aren't making noise, the neighbors aren't knocking on the door. There's no construction going on. And I live in a very expensive neighborhood, and all my neighbors are rehabbing their houses because they've all made a lot of money during a bad time. Because people who have a rich consciousness, which is what I teach and, have been teaching forever. And like, it's still a universal bestseller, 1 Minute Millionaire, which I wrote with the top guy in real estate, the guy who sold the most books, nothing done, Bob Allen. Bobby and I are still friends. We wrote a couple of books together. They gave us $1 million before we did it, but it's 2 books in one. It's fiction, nonfiction. And first of all, it's got the symbol of freedom because nobody can look at a caterpillar and predict butterfly, right? I mean, who would think that, and we've all been in COVID confinement. We've all been in a cocoon. And my goal is to get everyone released. So the first line I wrote in here is that there's 1 million ways to make $1 million. Now, real estate is the one that has worked really well for you and I. And I really believe in it. I think it's a backdrop. And I believe gold, silver, Bitcoin. I believe in EFT. I believe in a lot of cool stuff that's happening. I believe we're going into a digital age. But the point is, this says there's 1 million ways to make $1 million. There's one right, perfect, easy, acceptable way to you. Everyone. And it can be different. I mean, I got no vested interest. I mean, I trained for dentists, and I met the guy who, everybody's had a piece of string, right? The guy who invented dental floss makes $2 billion a year. I met another dentist who saw the 3D printing and prints 3D molars in Newport Beach, California. He makes $2 million a week just because he saw new technology and said that all the dentists need this. The point is the same thing with houses now. We're going to have bigger houses and ever smaller houses. I sat with the people who invented the tiny house, which is 396 feet, and they're selling like crazy. And you go, holy cow. So a lot of, and we did that in our Cracking the Millionaire Code. How are you going to think bigger? How are you going to think smaller, right? Because everything works. And that's the point, is that we're here to open up people's thinking. And I got to do one more sub point. Do I believe you got to read books? Yeah, you ought to read at least an hour a day to 3 hours a day, self-help action books, not, and yes, I do write fiction books and I love them. But the fact of the matter is that you need to have the basis, the foundation's got to be deep. So simple stuff that you teach, like the law of 72, because first question, when I had 387 employees and ran a $100 million company in Newport Beach, first question I asked all these MBAs that came in, and I fired them immediately, is what's the law of 72? And if they didn't know it, next. I mean, how the hell do you go through school and not know the law of 72? These are little basic laws I teach.
Mark, I love that you said there's 1 million ways to make $1 million. I say that on almost like at least once a month on this show. There's 1 million ways to make $1 million in real estate. You have to find the one that's perfect for you. I just love it.
There's a niche for everybody. I mean, we just had a meeting with the guy who owns 10,000 units here in town, and he did it in his way. But everyone can do it in their own way. There's a lot of ways to do it, and there's a lot of world that needs it. And one of my mega goals, because we're talking about real estate here, is that when I was back in graduate school, the smartest guy, as far as I was concerned, was my teacher, Dr. Buckminster Fuller. His teacher was Albert Einstein, but Bucky had us write down our goals. Now, remember, I'm a 21-year-old with a 71-year-old who's telling us to make the world work. So one of my 10 macro goals was house humanity expeditiously and omniconsiderately, meaning let's be totally considerate environmentally and every other way, but let's really get it done. Well, 4 billion people out of 8 billion people currently alive don't have a house, so let's get that program going. Everybody watching, somebody out there is going to go, duh, I heard what Mark said. I can go figure out how to do it in Africa or India or China or Latin America or in America. I mean, we're helping out people in the Indian tribes right here at the Four Corners area of Arizona. You know, a lot of them don't have houses, and you go, wait, this is 2022. What are you telling me? Not only do they not have houses, they don't have electricity, and they got the wind farms up there. There ain't because I'm Danish, we say something doesn't smell right in Denmark.
Yeah, but that's amazing. That's such important work. It's another one of those things, right, where you're doing something that's beneficial for you. You're also doing something that's really beneficial for a community or for people, right? Like we can there's so many ways to do good in the world and still, I don't want to say benefit, but like we expand for it in lots of different ways, right?
Well, no, I wrote a whole book, called A Miracle of Tithing, which businessmen say, what's a miracle of tithing? And I said, you haven't been tithed enough lately. And I said, look, you got to tithe your thinking. That's the most important, and very few people do it. Then you tithe your time. Then you tithe, and we tithe every book I've ever done. I've tithe. That's why I sell more books than anybody, because and then you tithe your treasure, your money, and then you're thankful in advance that you're going to tithe. So that's the fifth bonus point. But the point is, the guy says, I'll open up the windows of heaven and I'll open up my sky vault and pour you down such a rich reward you won't be able to receive it. And that's why so many people watch my YouTube videos and that, because they go, holy cow, I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know it either. When I was coming through, I went bankrupt because I was thinking wrong. I teach people to think right, talk right, act right, live right, to go get the right results. Because you and I are here to have an impact. When the game is over, you look back over your life and say, God, I wasted it. And what I'm saying, I'm being honest. I said, look, I could have bought East Islip for nothing. And right now, all those houses that went from 14,000, they're now $500,000 houses. I look at them, I go,
what the heck? I know. I love this, Mark. I actually just released my TEDx talk. It's called Who is the Boss of You? And it's really about living a life of choice. And the biggest thing about living a life of choice is what we get to do with that choice, right? So if we make choices that include other people, so whether it's contribution, whether it's travel, whether it's being active in your community, whatever it is, that contribution, that connection with other people is a thing that brings us true happiness, right? And so if anybody wants to watch the TEDx, it's at blissfulinvestor.com/TEDx. It's just an X, not an EX. But anyways, I just released that. And I love what you're talking about with this whole piece of what we can do, like what contribution tithing means. I do talk about, if you don't have money, there's so many other ways to tithe, right? Through your thoughts, through your actions, holding a door for somebody, helping somebody to their car if they can't walk right? There's all different kinds of things, working in a soup kitchen. There's so many different levels of tithing, but it really starts up in your mind, right?
And when you wake up in the morning, if you say, look, you're either a giver or a taker. And if you're a taker and think you can take it all, here's the question I ask. Suck in all the air you can. Now hold on to it. Don't ever let it go. You can't do it. You got to give a breath before you can take the next breath. Mm-hmm. And one time, Alan and I we're at the Maui Writers Conference, and we're on the beach in the beautiful Pacific early at like 6, and we're talking at 9. And Bob says, "Come on, Mark, you wrote the book on tithing. Explain to me how it works," and he's a Mormon and a good one and a bishop and all that good stuff. I am not Mormon, but I certainly respect every religion. The point is, we're walking. He said, "You got a metaphor for tithing?" And it came to me spontaneous. I said, "Look, we're looking at the water here. Water has 3 forms. Tithing has 3 forms. When it's frozen is when you don't give. You're constipated, you're stifled, you're stopped, you're shuffled, you're thwarted. When you get a little ambient and you have a little bit of flow, you just give a little bit. You give, like, you go to church and give 1%, or you help out somebody once, you do a little, then you get a little, right? You're ambient. But once you really heat it up and you become like vapor, like everybody's been in a closed bathroom when you took a shower and one drop of water steams up the whole mirror and you can't see it and you got to wipe it off. That's what tithing does. It takes that 10% that you give to the noble, good, charitable causes that are worthy and getting the results that you believe in, and it expands it. And it's not you and I that's expanding it. It's you're going from, there's 3 levels to money I've learned by writing this book, From Wishes to Riches, about Reverend Ike, the biggest black minister ever. And he and I are close friends in New York. He got me out of poverty when I was bankrupt and upside down. They said his churches in Harlem, it's in Washington Heights. Anyhow, he said there's the money, the material form of money, but then you go to the psychic form of money where you think about it. But the real goal is get to the spiritual form of money where you can create it almost instantly, because think and grow rich is what Napoleon Hill said. And he emerged to that. Andrew Carnegie emerged to that. I'm telling you that Elon Musk, who's my hero, is the richest man in the world, as we're videotaping this, right, and getting richer. He'll be one of the 2 first trillionaires with his partner, Peter Thiel, as far as I'm concerned. But the point is, it's explosive and extraordinary what somebody can do when they go to the higher levels of what money is, because you got to get out of you working for money and build one of the ways that money working for you. And you pick, how much do I need a month? Do I need 1,000 passive, massive cash flow coming from real estate? And you know, if I have a house that rents for $1,500 a month and I pay HOA and all the stuff for $500, then I got 1,000. You know, that's 1,000. But if I really need 10,000, then I need 10 single families, or I need 10 units, right? Pretty simple. And you go, it's really that simple? Come on.
It is. And it really is that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're really good, you know, I've owned real estate in 7 different states at the same time. So I understand you can do that and it still works. So it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there are a few things that matter. You need to know what to ask for, and you need to take action, right? And you need support. So I want to talk a little bit about, why is it hard for people to ask? What do you think is it that stops them?
Oh, thank you for asking. So the second chapter in the book, after we do the Fable of Michaela, which everybody can get, we're going to give it to you free if you want by going to askthebookclub.com. We'll talk about it later. But we say there's 7 roadblocks to asking. First of is the one that gets, all of them hit us once in a while. Some of us have all 7 hit, and then you get depressed, despondent, disconsolate. So it's good that you read our book, or listen to it on video, or watch it on YouTube. But overcome your lack, your self-worthfulness, because self-worth is going to be first, usually. Second is fear, then doubt, then naivete, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know you can buy real estate, even if you don't have any money, like I didn't have any money, I just had the right friend, right? Which is one of the things we were saying. Your net worth comes from your net worth is one of my many Mark Victor Hansen cliches. Then you got an excuseology, right? And then you got pattern paralysis, where you do the same thing and keep expecting something new. Well, you know, Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing and expect a new result, then you're crazy. Right?
Exactly. Go ahead.
How to watch podcasts like yours and listen to people who've done it. Now, be careful, because all of us have friends, neighbors, relatives. Like, God bless, you know. My wife and I start every day with an hour of meditation. We started today, and you know, the story of Jesus is he's not a prophet in his own hometown. Well, we're talking about our relative. She's 1 of 9, I'm 1 of 4. And you know, you go, wow, that's true. Your own relatives aren't going to respect you, no matter how rich you get, no matter how wise you are, no matter how the world accolades you. And I've won some of the biggest awards, like I'm a Horatio Algiero Award winner, which means I came from rags to riches and been exceedingly prosperous and generous, and want to be more so. But the point is, it's exciting to be alive and fulfill your destiny, fulfill your mission by overcoming the 7 obstacles that all of us have, some one of at any given time. And if you look at somebody else's story, you go, oh my God, that's what's stifling me, stopping me, thwarting me, detouring me. And I'm now empowered by Mark, because we say, here's the stop sign, and here's how to eliminate the stop sign. We give you 3 ways to eliminate the stop sign.
Can you give me a quick synopsis?
Oh no, if I did that, you wouldn't have to read the book.
Oh yes, they would. Hear it, read it, see it, right? Wouldn't you say? It's okay if you don't want to give it, but I would love it if you gave us a little bit.
I'm teasing with you, and I'll answer your question in a second. But look, a book is the best screaming value ever.
Yes.
Whether it costs $20 or $10. And I'll just tell you the crazy thing that's happened in our book, because we became number one. The book says $21 on the cover in America. Now we're selling, I'm number one in Vietnam and a lot of places, but they're amazing in Australia and all kinds of England. But the point is, Amazon does just the opposite. They're counterintuitive. They've brought the price down to $14. Well, it might be the best $14 you ever invest, because you're not investing in me. I've already done it. You're investing in you, so you really know how to ask yourself, because that's the real trigger here. Our research shows that 75% of people are afraid to ask. You're born an incredibly inquisitive kid, and we've got grandkids that are so magnificent. As a matter of fact, our little 6-year-old, when we're in Hawaii at our company, Natural Power Concepts, we're on the beach, and all of a sudden I get a call from a 6-year-old. He has, for Christmas, he got a gizmo watch. He can call his parents and his grandparents' house. So he says, Grampy, are you alone? I'm looking around on the beach. Right before this time. And I go, I'm here with Grammy, who's called Mimi. I said, Mimi and I are here. He said, can I talk to you privately? I said, yes, sir. He said, are you still writing great books like the ones I've read of yours? He's 6 years old.
Yes.
He's amazing. He can do the Rubik's Cube in 1 minute the first time he got it. He's really, God bless him. Anyhow, he said, are you still writing those books? I said, yes, sir. He said, can I write the next book with you?
Oh, I love that.
So the first story we do in here is our grandson.
I loved it. Yes.
And tells all of his friends, you got to buy my book. And what the heck? He's going to grow up and do wonderful things. So the point is, as little kids, we're told, quit asking so many questions. Kids, you just shut up. You ask why, how, when, all that. And then you go to school and they say, I'm going to tell you what it's really about. And then you go into the military and they tell you. And then you go to business and they tell you. And then you go into life and your spouse tells you the way the world works.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Two people's opinions that matter, yours and God. That's it. And so you got to ask yourself, how do I overcome it? And here's what you and I are going to do now to everybody out there in answer to your question. We're giving you all 100%. This is M and M. Monica and Mark are giving you 100% permission to ask bigger, better, stronger questions with metaphorical biceps and triceps, so you can go vigorously, valiantly, courageously, bravely into a future that is worthy of you. Would you agree with that?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm not going to say anything else. That was so good.
But why? Because we're here to empower people, to enlarge them. There's nowhere in any spiritual literature that you're supposed to be small and unworthy. And that's what the 7 roadblocks are. They make you less than, because the world goes out of its way to work against you, which is why, now it's going to sound very self-serving, but I don't go to sleep without reading positive self-help books. Now, sometimes I read my own, but most of the time I'm reading other people. And you're in my library here, and I got 50,000 other people's books. So I've touched more books. I haven't read every one of them wall to wall, but I've read 6,000 biographies and autobiographies. Now I'm writing biographies for people and writing my own autobiography, just because I've had a really exciting life. I've climbed Machu Picchu and Whitney and Fuji and Kilimanjaro. And you're here to do cool, great things. I've hung a week with Richard Branson, invited us down to Necker Island. And, I'm just small. I'm just a little person. Humma. And now I'm creating a library 3.0, because the first great library was created by Alexander the Great. He conquered the world and said, look, I got the wisdom, the insight, and understanding. Here it is in Alexandria. And then, my other hero, who I hope, where do you live? I don't even know where you live.
San Jose, California.
Okay, good. But if you go to New York, you want to go to Andrew Carnegie's house, 60,000 square feet, and it's in 95th and 5th Avenue. It's owned by the Smithsonian Institute. But the first thing he says is no man or woman can get rich without enriching all others.
Yes. It's
because
true.
most people say, well, you're rich and you make me poor. Hell no, I don't make you anything. You make you. I don't touch you. My richness, I've made more millionaires than anyone other than Napoleon Hill, I'm told by all the research. So then the second thing he says is authors are the wealth of the nation. Now, the only thing I'd switch with Andy's line, the Scotsman, is authors are the wealth of the world. Because I think everyone is the author of him or herself. Now, if you're going to author yourself, you better be reading somebody who's authored themselves well. That's why I'm saying, go out and start reading biographies and autobiographies and read all of my self-help action books. And I'll tell you some of the other superstars that you ought to read, and they will change your thinking and change your life, because you're here to make your life bolder, bigger, better, brighter, more exquisitely exciting, tantalizing, and relevant. And can I go on, or do you want me to?
I'm with you. And I want to say I have a book called Choose Bliss too, ladies. Check that one out also. So,
in this book, this is the 20th anniversary edition. I said, would you write the foreword to it? So I went through a painful, extremely expensive divorce. So what I did is I never told Crystal, who I married a long, long ago now, but that I wrote down 267 wants. What do I want? What are the characteristics, the values, the virtues? Because when you're 16 years old, what do you say as a man? I want her to be a femme fatale. She's got to be slim and beautiful and eye candy. Pretty superficial if you think about it.
When you're a teenager, absolutely.
I want him to Doc and Hansen. I want him super strong. I want Arnold or whatever you want. But I wrote down everything I wanted, right? She's got to like and love me. She's got to demonstrate making her own money, because I don't want somebody marrying for my wallet. She's got to be a great lover. She's got to be wonderful, imaginative, magnanimous. She's got to be cooperative, have financial savvy, an underspender who lives below her means, create her own means, is flexible, right? We do yoga every day. Dance and loves to dance, thinks abundance, wants to create superior memories, is a non-smoker, non-drinker, non-drug user, charitable, has great etiquette, right? This is what you asked about want. Most people, on Mondays, I want to go to work, come home, have a quick drink, go to sleep after I watch TV. No, you want to be a dullard. What the hell would you want that for? That's what Zig Ziglar says, the general meandering generality. I don't want you to be, I want you
to. I'm sorry. I couldn't help but crack up on that one. You want to be a dullard. No, go ahead.
No, nobody, look, we weren't, all of us weren't born endowed. We were born over endowed. You're born with 18 billion brain cells. You're to use them. No, man, I get up, have coffee, go to work, come home, the drink, the TV, bed. And you want me to read an hour to 3 hours? Not for me. You read for you.
Yeah. So, Mark, I feel like we can talk forever. I'm going to have you back on the show, because I really want to keep talking, but I want to be respectful of your time today. So we need to kind of, we'll do it again. Okay. Does that sound good? Okay. That sounds amazing. Okay, good. So before we move into our 3 rapid fire questions, share with us how people can get in touch with you. I know you've got some great gifts that you want to offer my audience.
I want everyone to do ask thebookclub.com, and it's free, because Crystal, my beloved, beautiful wife, which you'll see, you go, why would she marry you? Well, because she's super smart. That's why. And why? Because I had the goals. She had no choice, right? I didn't show up to her until after we married her. She probably wouldn't have married me. Maybe, I don't know. No, she, we were. Here's the truth. I got to quit goofing around here. Is that everybody wants a soulmate, but what you really want is a higher level of that, where two candles lit come together. It's 4-fold to 8-fold higher, and that's called a twin flame. We're twin flames. We can mirror each other 100%, which you'll see if you watch any of our videos on YouTube or anywhere else, or ask the book club. The other one I want you to go to, if you've got a story in you and you qualify, we want to help you publish. It's called Mark Victor Hansen Library.com. Mark Victor Hansen Library, because I already told you, Alexander the Great had the first one. Andrew Carnegie did 2,500 benefacted libraries in America. So the media and then the dumbasses in school teach that he's a robber baron. No, he's the biggest philanthropist ever, ever, ever. And then now we're doing Library 3.0, because I want everybody in every form to have a book, to have their audios, to have their memorabilia, to have their films, to all that stuff codified. And I call it a library because it's a repository of the wealth and the treasures of your mind and your heart and your soul and a story of your beingness.
I love that. So that's markvictorhansenlibrary.com.
Yep. And if you go there and look through the stuff, you go, wow, I do have a story in me and I got to release it.
I got to get it out. I got to do it. I will say releasing a book is the most magical experience in the world. You've done 300 something. I've done 3. But still, each time that goes out there, you impact so many people. You think it's just my story, like big deal, right? No, your story matters because there's someone that will read that story and it will completely change their paradigm. So if it's just one, but usually it's many, many, many thousands of people, right? So, and if you have a good publisher that gets it out there, that's what makes the big difference.
And for those that are watching in business, it's the best business card. And it makes you the authority. The word authority has in it author. So it's the authorship of your story. And then people will read it and you'll sign it to them. They'll take your business card and put it in the cylindrical file. Nobody throws away books that are signed to them.
Yeah.
Especially sign it to the spouses and their kids. Now they're stuck.
Mark, you also said something that I think is really cute, that I do the same thing. You were like, I read a lot of books. A lot of them are my own. And a lot of times I'll pick up Choose Bliss and read that and go, wow, that was good. Because I feel like I change. I feel like I channeled so much of the book, right? And so much of that wisdom happened when I was in the zone, but I don't always live in the zone, right? So when I read it, it's as if I'm hearing from somebody that really gets me, right? And I'm like, wow, that's great. Every once in a while, someone will be like, I need to read your book, Monique. And I'm like, yeah, I need to read it again too. And that's the thing is you capture, ladies, when you write, you capture something so deep inside of you that now you have access to for the rest of your life. It's really incredible, right?
And everyone has more in them than they think. That's why I say
yes.
What we teach in a book, you have a book in you in my seminar, and you can go to markvictorhansenlibrary.com and all that, is you don't try to write one book at a time, because then you'll have writer's block, maybe. But if you write 3 or 4, you never have writer's block on 3, 4 things at the same time. And we all have it in us. And what we do is we're teaching different. We say, we start with the title and then we start with the cover, because everybody else finishes the book and then tries to come up with the title. Wrong. Start with the title and then the cover. And when you look at our website, markvictorhansenlibrary.com, you go, oh my God, look at the covers these guys are doing. My company does, forgive me for being a little bodacious, but like I'd come up with this cover, before we did the book. And it was going to be what it's called trade dress. And I teach you how to do all that stuff, because everybody is a brand, and you need to make your brand be a brand command.
I love that. We're going to talk more, Mark, just so you know. But and then also, ladies, if you want to go and get the book, go to askthebookclub.com. And they're going to be doing a webinar about the book, and there's all sorts of good stuff there. So go check that out, and that will also be in the show notes. Okay. So, Mark, are you ready for our 3 rapid fire questions?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you had to close down. Okay, good. I'm ready.
Okay. Tell us one super tip, Mark, getting started asking and receiving in your life.
When did I start asking and receiving?
No, give us a super tip on how to get started asking and receiving in your life.
Start asking yourself all day long, what do I really want? What do I really, really, really want? And then write it down. We're going to have an ask journal that will have you do that every day, because you got to ask yourself, because just like you got bigger and better and stronger, you'll have new asks, and each ask will open up different stuff. There you go.
Perfect. And then what is one way of being successful in continuing to ask and receive in your life?
Be crystal clear about number one, what do you really want? Like I wanted to be a speaker that talked to people that care about things that matter, that make a life transformative difference. And if you can write down that as a purpose statement, and then for Chicken Soup, I wrote the purpose statement, change the whole world one story at a time. And we only did stories that were, 7 things. We said the first one was goosebumps, God bumps, chili bumps, and then the second one, instantaneous behavioral change and humma humma. But all that stuff got to be written, because once it's codified, once it's your commandment, it's a commandment from you to you. And metaphorically, it's a marble, right? And it's solid.
I love that. And Mark, what would you say is one daily practice that you do that contributes to your personal success?
I make all my own decisions and think for myself. Everybody, it's so easy to get swayed by other people. Feel like somebody offered me a bunch of stock for nothing in a company called Facebook. And I asked the guy who created the internet, they said, oh, that'll never make it. I thought, I ain't never doing that again. That was a dumb idea. Holy schmoly, that was a dumb idea.
Yeah.
So make big decisions and bold decisions, and I'm willing to live with my decisions. And you've heard me say my failures as well as success. Nobody is 100% successful. You see a lot of financial guys show up and say, I only know how to make money. I never lose money. Including Warren Buffett says the first rule is make money and never lose money. Well, he's lost money on a few things. So what? Right? Overall, you're going to make more money than you'll lose.
Right. Thank you for that. Mark, this conversation has been amazing. Thank you so much for bringing in our new year with your wisdom.
Thank you. My pleasure. Happy New Year, everybody, and Happy New You, wherever you are, whatever time you're getting to watch us.
And ladies, stay tuned for extra, because we've got more. Mark is going to be talking to us about his technique for asking our higher selves, or the universe, or God, whatever you want to call it, how to find out what your destiny is. What are you supposed to be doing? Or if you've got a business problem, how to get the answer to that business problem. So stay tuned for extra for that. If you are already subscribed, and if you're not subscribed but would like to be, please go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. You get 7 days for free. So check it out. And if you love it, you get to stay. And if not, at least you've gotten some great new content. realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. For those of you that are leaving us today, thank you so much for joining Mark and I for this portion of the show. Wasn't it a great way to start the new year? I had so much fun, and I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.